The thoughts, views, and comments expressed by Sidebar, its guests, callers, and advisors are not necessarily those of the management, ownership, or production unit of ILS Verizon Media Group. Sidebar, a 103.5 The Beat podcast, is a production of ILTV Studios and may not be reproduced or represented, in part or in its entirety, without the express written consent of Verizon Media Group. Sidebar is the intellectual property of Verizon Media Group. Copyright 2024. All rights reserved.
Welcome to Sidebar, 103 The Beat podcast, powered by ILTV. I'm Stephen Hanna. Today, I'm with Roddericka Collie, mental health therapist, counseling therapist, and we are talking about mental health in the Bahamas. Well, in the grand scheme, it's a wide picture. Roddericka, how you doing?
I'm well.
Great, glad to hear it. So I want to talk. It's been a while. I'm not in the studio right now. We're in transition. It's a lot going on, but I wanted to talk about the things that have happened to us in our formative years impact our present day relationships. Because a lot of times people, they're just like, oh, this person sucks.
Right.
Or this person is manipulative. And then you see it a lot of times with romantic stuff. But I'm going to guess that it probably leads into other areas as well.
Correct.
But a lot of times in romantic relationships, people are like, oh, all of my exes were narcissists. All right. And you don't want to be that person and say, if all of them are narcissists, perhaps there's something that you're doing. You're the common denominator. So like, what are you doing? Not to say victim blaming or anything. Because all I know from psychoanalyzing is what I see on TV. But how important is these initial relationships that happen in our formative years, whether with our parents, with our teachers, with whomever, how important are they in forming and molding the way that we interact with persons on a day-to-day basis when we become adults?
So firstly, I'll get into the science bits of things that happens. So when you are a baby, you are born with your little brain, and you're going to have all sorts of neurological pathways that starts to form. In these formative years, the brain does something called pruning, where whatever neurological pathways you don't use, it just is like, well, we don't need that, get rid of that. And so if you aren't exposed to kindness and love and connection and intimacy and those sorts of things, like language especially, they say get them in the language, so that there is neurological pathways could be developed, because your brain is going to see them as insignificant or unfamiliar. And so the first thing is to understand the brain component of our behavior as adults, in terms of so many people are still thinking from the mind of the child that they were. So if you got hurt in, let's say, teenagers, right? We have a lot of adults that got stuck in the conflict resolution style of teenagers, in terms of they still throw tantrums, they still do the silent treatment, they still get mad and aggressive.
Are you saying the silent treatment is effective?
No, I mean, it is if you're 15, and so we get kind of stuck in different developmental stages. Right. There's a lot of theories on it. Some of them are weird. I had a friend ask me this week, why do girls with terrible fathers hold their fathers to such high regard? And so I said, there's Freud, who believes that daughters are secretly in love with their fathers.
And he was also on cocaine, so.
And obsessed with his own mother, which was weird. But just as far as like theories go, that there was something to study about the way mothers treat their sons compared to how mothers treat their daughters. Right. And although his justification was weird, the fact that it was odd enough to study is what was valid. Right. And so all of the intimacy that you get as a child is what's going to determine what you prioritize, what your brain thinks is important, and what is going to be familiar.
Mhm.
So,
I mean, like, I feel like there would be something there. Anyway, I think there would be something there. It's just not how he necessarily interpreted it. Because, was it? Sometimes a cigar is just a cigar, right? But then with
mhm.
Freud, everything is a phallus, right? So,
I mean, not necessarily though, because
but I'm saying, like, in a situation like where somebody, so in a world like the world we live in,
mhm,
once you become an adult, any sort of intense emotional interaction between two adults,
mhm,
if they are not blood related, we kind of suspect it to be something sexual.
right,
So we find it difficult to believe, like, two heterosexuals,
mhm,
a guy and a girl, could be, they're just really good friends,
mhm,
and there's nothing sexual about it. We're like, no, one of them has to like the other one,
right,
and the other one's just oblivious, or both of them secretly like each other and they
mhm,
just won't admit it.
mhm,
But it can't be that, oh no, they're just friends,
right.
all right? And the same thing where,
Because most times that's hardly ever the case, though.
but is that because of the society that we live in
Mhm,
that it's not the case, or is it because, like, which one came first? The society we live in would have also had an effect on them to make
mhm,
them think that secretly the other one must be in love with me.
right,
But at the same time, yeah, see, the problem is because I have female friends that I know that I don't have any feelings towards them, and I know that they don't have any feelings towards
Are
me.
you sure?
I'm 1,000% certain.
You
And if
think
they
so?
do, they've kept it very well hidden.
Mhm,
Right? It's never caught. And I think also because our relationship started, maybe because our relationships started with, I was friends with their exes, and they survived. Our relationship survived when they broke up with their ex. Maybe that's why. Anyway, whole point is,
that's a whole different thing.
yeah, but that's like, so
Let me
like,
answer the first part before I
right,
say my words, and then
right.
there's more things to answer.
Say.
So, another theory outside of Freud being weird is the concept of nature versus nurture,
Right.
and how both of those things are equally important, right? So, firstly, the challenge is in terms of the society that we live in, we don't know intimacy outside of sex.
Right.
We don't know connection outside of sex. I had this lady who, she is queer. And I said, like, what contributed? Like, how did you know you were queer? Oh, I just had so much fun with females and we bonded so well and the conversations were always fulfilling. And I'm like, you are describing a friendship.
Right. Like, you can
That doesn't
talk to your friends.
that doesn't make you. And she's like, no, but we would do devotions. And I'm like, you can do that
you
with
do it
your
anybody.
friends.
You can do that with your grandmother.
And so she was like, yeah, but so I'm attracted to girls. I said, that doesn't make you attracted to girls. That means I said, you're supposed to love your friends.
Yeah,
But in her mind, if you love them, then that's romantic.
Right.
And so a lot of times, relatives and also society doesn't teach us how to interact with each other in a intimate way without sexualizing. And that's literally from babies. So you see your son, oh, your son's so cute, he could be a heartbreaker. That's a weird thing to say about a 2-year-old.
But we only
because
realized
he
that,
got a haircut.
Yeah, but see, okay, so now we've jumped to another issue within being society where the currency of one's sexuality is so important that we want all boys and all men to be, for lack of a better term, gallus.
Right.
We want them to sleep with as many people as, oh yeah, you have to fight the gals off for him, blah, blah, blah. We want that. Conversely, we want all of the girls to be, hey, lock it down.
Pure.
Sit down and read a book.
Virtuous.
You need to be outside doing all this wildness or whatever, right? Which then begs the question, if you want your sons to be all over the place wanting sex every day,
right?
But you don't want daughters out there.
You want them to be with the men. Anyways.
So who are they having sex with?
With the other men.
Clearly.
Which is what they're doing. Anyways. So
So yeah, but
The thing is that the fact that we sexualize kids from so young, whether in telling them to be chaste or,
otherwise,
being consent, encouraging whatever,
promiscuity
is that you
among
are
us.
still telling the child all of your interaction with the opposite sex is still based on sex. Whether it's you turning away from it or running towards it,
Right.
from an early age, we're just having conversations with kids about sexuality, which is weird because we don't want to teach them anything about it. We just want to encourage them or scare them from it, which is a whole nother thing. But we can't interact with each other without sex because we don't know how to. If you have a little boy and a girl in primary school, oh, y'all playing together, oh, he like you. He just want to go around the merry-go-round. Like, that doesn't mean he want to be your boyfriend. Like, he's 6.
What does that even mean?
You share crayons and you share Capri Suns during snack time. And then the parents encourage it when they're like, oh, you have a Valentine's, and then let me buy you the Valentine's to give to your little sweeties in the classroom. And so now that you become an adult, it's like, how else do I exist with females and men besides romantically? And that's why even in terms of friendship, one person ends up loving the other person because of the level of intimacy. It's like, what do I do with these feelings besides say that I'm in love with you? The intensity of my fondness, what do I call that besides being in love with you? Which is also why so much men are attracted to men.
So anyway.
I had an ex. I said, you are in love with your homeboy.
Right.
And it was cute. Like, I wasn't even feeling that type of way about it. I said, because y'all are so cute together. Like, I am your girlfriend, and seeing y'all, it's just like...
And I that would have probably driven him entirely mad.
What, that I said that to him?
Yes. Because now what you're doing is you're questioning if his sexuality is the currency, right? Because it is a currency whether we wish to admit it or not, right? How many women that you sleep with, how many women you can sleep with, how many women find you attractive is a currency. It is, for every man that somebody accused you of liking, you are deducting 50 points.
Right.
Right?
Which is why they make it up with being promiscuous.
Right.
To make themselves feel more masculine and feel more manly. So I can tell you that the way that you spend every day in the evening on the game talking to your homeboy. And so to make sure you still like a man, you could just make sure you...
But see, so I will not push. Well, so I'll go back to what your original point is, right? What your original statement was. The lack of the ability to be intimate with somebody on a platonic level means that even if this is the only form of platonic interaction that society deems is acceptable, that he might still feel like he might overindulge in it in a way that's like, it's kind of weird that you want to do this all the time, even if because it's not sex. I don't think maybe it wasn't sexual. I don't know how to do it, right? But now it's like, where then is the safe space for that person? Because they're like, well, if I do this, they can say, you see the trend now, right? Any man that drink water, party man.
So, man's supposed to wear no slippers.
Yeah, right? All this different stuff. And so it's like, it comes to the point where you're performative in how masculine you are.
Right.
Because you're afraid of somebody saying you like man. Right? Or, man's supposed to do this, and man ain't supposed to do that, or whatever. That is the heaviest weight of the patriarchy.
Which is, I think, what contributes significantly to the increase of so many queer people. Because I feel like if the identifier on maleness is this specific thing, and I'm not that, then I will not identify with maleness.
So you just think that there are people out there who are rejecting it altogether just because?
Because they don't fit into the box. So if someone say rice and peas is one thing, and someone else say...
Peas and rice is different.
and someone say peas and rice is something different, then you're going to go with the thing that identifies the most with what you think you are.
I mean, perhaps. I guess. while I get that human beings are social creatures and we want to
Right.
fit in and we want to be accepted by the group,
Mhm.
there is only, well, one, the person who is in charge or who is looked at as the top
Right.
often has something different about them anyway.
Mhm.
So now you're trying to impress the girls in the group and they're impressed by the dude with the dangly earring.
Mhm.
And you're like, but
I love
y'all
the
tell me that
dangly
was
earring.
gay, right?
It's because it's not about the thing though.
No, and right. And so that's the thing. So
Mhm.
having the confidence to be your own self then makes you more attractive in the sexual way, but also mentally, you have less bondage of like, oh wait, can I wear this?
Mhm.
I don't remember if this is
Allowed.
allowed anymore as a man, or and then two is like everybody doing the exact same thing itself
Mhm.
is we call like that's one of the signifiers in like a man, right?
Right.
You following behind fashion and you
Mhm.
doing everything, and so like it seems like there is no out, right? And I'm using like a man in the well, no, people are gonna call you gay if you do what other dudes do.
Yes.
People are gonna call you gay if you don't do what other dudes do.
Yes. People
Clearly
are just gonna
society
call you
just
gay.
right. I think society's just
People are
obsessed with
just
people
gonna call
being
you
gay, right?
Yes.
And so it's like, how do we, or should we try? What is the balance between fitting in with society and still trying to be not trying to, but being the individual, giving
Mhm.
yourself enough space to be an individual? Because I feel like it can't be one or the other.
There is no right answer because the world we live in, for the most part, there is a compromise that's going to be somewhere. And so if you want to be yourself and be able to express yourself in any way that you are comfortable with for your mental health, people are going to make fun of you, and that's going to deplete your mental health. And so it kind of doesn't matter. You have to decide, if they choose to struggle, you just have to decide which challenge will be the less overbearing or the less depletion for you, because there's no winning. Especially now that there's so much social media, there's so much exposure, there's no winning unless you're in a shell where you keep your world very small of the people that you have to come into contact with, the people that know you, the people that you have to interact with. So like, go live in Inagua, and then you'll have all of the peace that you want.
So you think.
Because the people there,
Mhm.
like, you either in them or you don't, but at least it's so much space where if you don't care about them and you just want to be yourself, like, you have plenty acres to do that.
You go live go out in the bush somewhere.
Well, it's all bush, but like, you have plenty acres to be yourself comfortably without having to care. But if you want to actually interact with communities, because even in each subsection of a group, there's outliers.
Right.
And there's norms. So there will always be smaller groups in every group of clusters of people. There's no winning around that. So you be yourself and you face the ostracism of being yourself, or you be like the group and you face the negative mental health conditions of being just like everybody else.
Right.
Here's what the balance can be, though.
Go ahead.
Find things that you can integrate in your life that will allow you to have spaces for you to comfortably do all too. Right? So, well, healthy spaces where you can comfortably do all too. So you have spaces where you could be super, super weird if you want to be weird. And then you have spaces where you have to, like at work, where we have to perform, so to speak, at work.
I think that's how men end up with a second family. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we will continue the conversation. You are watching and listening to Sidebar, 103 to B podcast powered by ILTV. I'm Stephen Hanna. We'll be right back.
play for fun, not for funds.
In the Bahamas, we play hard, but we live smart.
We love a little competition.
A little excitement, a little thrill.
And at Island Luck, gaming is all about entertainment.
Shared moments, celebrating the wins, and enjoying the experience.
The key is simple. Play for fun, not for funds.
When you set a budget before you start,
And know your limits, you stay in control.
And when you're in control, the game stays what it's meant to be.
Fun.
so play for fun, not for funds.
Must be 18 and over. Island Luck reminds you that it's only a game, so please game responsibly.
Wealth should not only belong to a select few. At InvestStar, we believe the door should be open to everyone. We provide options for planning a better future. Our investment funds are designed to assist you in reaching your long-term financial goals. Let us show you how.
Welcome back to Sidebar, 103 podcast powered by ILTV. I'm Stephen Hanna. Let's jump right into the conversation.
Yes. I was talking to my supervisor yesterday, right? And we were just talking about how men's ability to, well, women as well, but we were talking about men at the time because, about men's ability to compartmentalize in terms of they can function in two completely different worlds. And those two things don't have to cross. I can love this woman. She's my wife. I've been with her for 20 years. She's my world, but you are also my world because these two different worlds. And one, because some people just be like, oh, you have to love one person more or whatever. And like, they have mastered the ability to like function in both capacities regardless.
So the problem is that it's like, so let me tell you something, right? This is Steven's position on it.
Mm-hmm.
I get the whole like you love one person more than the other person, and there are situations like that.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever you are not lying to is the person that you don't value as much.
Right.
All right, as hard as that might be. The person that you lie to, that's the person you're afraid of losing.
But
all
you're
right?
lying to both.
Then I might love both of you equally. All right?
Mm-hmm.
But if one of you knows about the other one,
Mm-hmm.
then the one that doesn't know is the one that I'm afraid of losing. Because you lie to protect something, all right? Like, you lie because I don't want to lose something, I don't want to get punished or whatever. So that tells me what's
Not
the most
really.
important.
This is Steven. Okay,
This is
got you.
Steven's mental.
Got you.
If I did it,
Right.
if I lying to you,
Mm-hmm.
but I lying to her,
Mm-hmm.
clearly I'm more afraid of the repercussions of you finding out than her. If she leave,
It doesn't
Well,
necessarily have to be because you love the person. Though.
no, I'm talking about if we're talking about weight.
I
right?
mean, in terms of wait, so like if this is a wife of your 3 kids, then you lying to her because you don't want her to take your kids,
Yeah,
not
but
because you value her more.
I understand that, but then I also love whatever this is.
Fair.
Right? Now, with all that said, I do also fully understand and appreciate that if I can love more than one person platonically, if I can be friends with more than one person platonically,
Mm-hmm.
and I can also find more than one person attractive,
Mm-hmm.
then it is possible for me to both find and love a person, more than one person, at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
That is logically a possibility. For Steven,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the energy for that. You can say I'm lazy, you can say whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, babe, there are times where with my friends,
Mm-hmm.
I send a voice note and then I forward it to the other friends because I don't have the energy to re-record this or retype this. Hey, you guys are all in the inner circle. this is it, right? And that's what a group chat is. We don't have the energy to type this stuff for you guys. Here you guys go, right? That's me. So that's me. And I know, listen, whatever it is, if it's bad, fine, it's bad. I know it is sheer laziness on my part. I do not have the energy to be devoted to more than one person mentally and physically. It's exhausting. One person is exhausting. 2, 3, I don't know how these two systems do it. They should be studied. They should be studied. God bless them. I had a friend, he was like, if the human dudes took the same amount of energy that they did to get gals and to cheat on gals and put in anything else, we'd be on the moon.
Yep.
We'd be able to build a spaceship and be on the moon in a year. Because there are dudes in this country who are not on the defense force, but have more than one family or more than one girlfriend on different islands. They're not pilots. But they have a wife inside Miami and one in Nassau.
They're not putting any energy and thought into it, because what?
They're just skilled.
Here's my and I can slap myself on the wrist for being a female about to say this sentence. Females are sometimes their own detriment of how men treat them, because sometimes these men are not lying. Sometimes these men are not playing games and pulling psych. You just ain't paying attention, or you paying attention and you just don't care. Because it's like when he told you he couldn't answer you for 3 days, you stayed. We just be allowing people to treat us any kind of way. And that's why they get away with all this sweethearting that they do for so long. Because if you get off from work at 11 o'clock, how you coming home to your wife 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning?
Because of the traffic. The traffic!
And so it's like, as a female, whose house are you coming in? Because you need a separation. So let me comment on the first thing of how you can maintain multiple partners. Firstly, valid. But also, one person shouldn't be exhausted. That just means a lot of us just be in the wrong relationships.
Also that.
And so it's like, that's also why all these sweethearting and things is going. We don't know how to leave. We don't know how to quit. One of the reasons why people love up I won't say which kind of jobs. We know what kind of jobs. Oh, as soon as you graduate from high school, you get your whatever job. It's because we don't want to leave anything. We love complacency.
Well, because...
And so that's why we ain't going to end up on the moon. Because they're not putting any work into the multiple women, Yeah. All of these women are getting crumbs from these men.
Yeah, but they
and
say
the most they will give you is money. And if that. You're not getting emotional intelligence. You're not getting tenderness. They're not paying attention to your needs and your desires and listening to the words that you're saying. So there's no other gain that people are getting from these relationships besides just saying that they have somebody. And that makes no sense.
Let's see. Okay. So I like that, right? So let's take it from the romantic, because the romantic is easy to see, right? But we don't necessarily see this, how it plays out
in the friendships,
in all relationships. So like you make a good point. There are times where people are in a toxic work environment, but this is all I've known. This is better than nothing at all. They're afraid to move forward because what if no one else would have me? No one said this is the best job you could ever get. Right? It's not like a Lifetime movie a Tyler Perry movie where you think anybody else gonna love you? Like, no one's done that.
Right.
But on some level, you feel that. Right? And you're like, well, if I leave this job, where I get work?
Yeah.
And then you start justifying. I'm gonna say, where does that come from? But I suppose it doesn't come from a specific, did your parent do this exact thing?
But it does though, because we were talking about formative years, right? And so circle back to include that in this thing now. And so the thing that you watch your parents do is what your brain will logically rationalize as what you should do. Now, unless you had an experience that exposed you to different, the brain is always going to gravitate towards familiarity. Like the person who say, everybody is a narcissist, your brain is always going to pick a narcissist. Because when you were with a narcissist, you can predict that he's going to be mean on Monday. But on Tuesday, he could be the sweetest thing, and he could buy the flowers, and he could pay attention. And then on Friday, he can go back to not talking to you till Sunday. You know what I mean? But at least the brain can predict that, because your mommy or your daddy is a narcissist. But at least the brain knows how to predict whatever is going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen in a healthy relationship. So your brain is never going to tell you to do that. Your brain knows that this chip and this soda is not something that you should eat. Your brain, it's killing you. And your brain knows that.
It's not my fault. It's the serotonin.
Right. And so it's like your brain, I don't know. These fruits ain't gonna fill me. This salad ain't gonna fill me. Your brain is gonna gravitate towards the thing that you are used to, regardless of how unhealthy it is.
Right.
So unless you separate from exposure experiences or whatever have you, what you are used to, and literally reprogram your brain is what we call it. Mm-hmm. You have to reprogram your brain.
But see, how does one even do that? Because once again, romantic relationships are the easiest thing to use as an example, right? Mm-hmm. But you'll see people, and I'm guessing guys and girls do it, but I only can give you examples of women doing it because that's who, girls will be like, oh, I'm looking for a guy that, and they'll list things. Mm-hmm. And none of their boyfriends have ever been that.
Correct.
All right? And you're like, but you said, and then especially, you make the mistake of being a young boy who watched too many Hallmark movies or too many rom-coms. And you're like, but Laura, does Steve Urkel need more help than Laura? Or does Laura need more help than Steve Urkel? Because if Laura's saying, oh, I'm looking for a smart guy that's confident, that is Steve Urkel. Laura Winslow is a narcissist, by the way. It occurred to me recently. It's like, oh, Laura is a narcissist. She, at the end of the series, Steve Urkel literally became a different person, just so that she would be happy. Like not a metaphor. Mm-hmm. He literally cloned himself, turned his clone into Stefan Urkel, so that she could be happy. She was with Stefan Urkel. That is Steve Urkel becoming a different person to fit the mold. He's a supermodel that lives in France. Rich, famous, everything. Everything that she asks for. But he has his own life. Mm-hmm. He's his own person. So he loves Laura. But he's like, I find fulfillment in my job. I have these friends. Mm-hmm. I travel the world. And to Laura, that lack of dedication is a problem. So now she circles back to Steve and says, hey, Steve, I love you. 13 years later?
So the first problem is that what?
Nothing, sorry, go ahead. I was just thinking about Laura. Anyway.
The first problem is that we don't live our lives logically and rationally.
Right.
We live our lives either emotionally, which makes no sense because all of your emotions will always change based on the hormones that's in your brain at the time. Mm. And so while they are valid, they don't really hold much credibility based on, because a lot of times they're not factual or logical. And so whether with the people that we're attracted to, that's based on a fantasy of a relationship that's in your mind and not from a relationship that you've probably even experienced and or have seen outside of a book, which is also
or a TV show
in your mind, you know? And then on the second part, on Steve's end, it's like you are chasing behind someone that is being very intentional about letting you know that they don't want you. You don't have the self-esteem or confidence to be logical and rational. You're just being emotional in the fact that you like this person. If they're telling you that they don't want you, why are you trying to create someone for them to want? Leave them alone and go find someone that actually likes you. We are always running behind things that will fail. And a part of me believes that our brain is so used to failure that it's like, yes, let me fail, just so that we can be stressed out and disappointed and frustrated, because at least those are emotions we're familiar with.
I was going to say.
For example, if you ask people when was the last time they had fun, felt peace, felt loved, felt happy, they don't know. They can tell you when they felt frustrated and angry and mad. And so, like I said, the brain is always going to run towards the emotions and experiences that are familiar.
So, okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to continue the conversation. You are watching and listening to Sidebar, 103 The Beat podcast, powered by ILTV. I'm Stephen Hanna. We'll be right back.
Play for fun, not for funds.
In the Bahamas, we play hard.
But we live smart.
We love a little competition.
A little excitement, a little thrill.
And at Island Luck, gaming is all about entertainment.
Shared moments, celebrating the wins, and enjoying the experience.
The key is simple. Play for fun, not for funds.
When you set a budget before you start,
And know your limits, you stay in control.
And when you're in control, the game stays what it's meant to be.
Fun.
so play for fun, not for funds.
Must be 18 and over. Island Luck reminds you that it's only a game, so please game responsibly.
Welcome to Paradise Premium Foods, where exceptional taste meets everyday convenience. Right in the heart of Hurricane Hole Plaza, whether you're planning a beachside brunch, an intimate dinner, or simply restocking your favorites, we offer only the finest selection of local and imported goods, handpicked for quality, freshness, and flavor. At Paradise Premium Foods, shopping is effortless, service is personal, and every visit feels like a treat. From gourmet meals to go to organic essentials and indulgent treats, this is your neighborhood market elevated. Live well, eat better. Discover Paradise Premium Foods, now open at Hurricane Hole Plaza, Paradise Island. Paradise Premium Foods. Taste the difference.
Welcome back to Sidebar, a 103 The Beat podcast powered by ILTV. I'm Stephen Hanna. We come back to the point of it being what you're familiar with is what you are, for lack of a better term, willing to settle for, or you're willing to live with. You're familiar with this, so you're willing to live with it. All right? Sometimes you're afraid to let it go because you don't know what's out there. But because I'm thinking about when it comes to jobs. You're in a job and this job is horrible, but it is literally all that you know. You don't know anything else. So like, how do you even find a space to expose yourself to new things? Because if this is all that I know, all right, I don't know what to go and look for. I think that I am in a healthy space, or I'm doing the right thing. Because like your people, I've done all the things, right? I should be turning the game over now. You told me go to school, I went to school. You told me to get married, I got married. You told me have kids, I have kids. When do I get the happy part of life? You told me to do these things and that I'd find this fulfillment. And I do not have this fulfillment, but I also don't know any other path. How does one figure out what path to go on if it's the language thing again, all right? Whereas like, I understand why people would be frustrated. It's going to be, bear with me, all right? For this very short journey, right? So 1984.
Yo,
the book, not the year, all right?
because I was like, short journey. Okay, go ahead.
Right. George Orwell presents us with this idea, right? The main character, he comes to, they more or less come to the conclusion that if you don't know the word freedom, then you can't ask for it. You can't have the conversation about it. I think it took me like 10 years after reading the book to be like, actually, that's wrong, right? you would have the frustration and the yearning. You don't know what the word is.
Yes.
So it becomes more difficult. And so you're frustrated in life.
Mm-hmm.
You hate your job, but you can't articulate why. This relationship isn't working, but you can't articulate why.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so in the grand scheme of things, I think that it is not that it is impossible,
Mm-hmm.
but what are the ways that a person can go about figuring out, okay, there's a lot of frustration in my life in this direction.
Mm-hmm.
How do I find a pattern of something that would at least, if nothing else, bring me more happiness?
Correct.
That's the question. The question's longer than the path we went down.
That's fine. So I'll go back to the whole concept of the formative years thing,
Right.
and the component of nature versus nurture. One thing we lack in how we teach our kids, not just kids like you birthed them, but also how we raise kids in the community, in our family, in the schools, whatever have you, is that we don't teach and develop autonomy. There is no sense of self. For example, we teach kids, you do what I say. I am your parent, you do what I say. You don't get to have opinions, you don't get to have rights, you don't get to ask questions, you do whatever I say. And so what that teaches children is that your opinion, needs, and desires do not matter. You have to fit the mold.
Right.
And then you become a teenager. And when you start to speak up for yourself, it's called rebellion. You being so rude, you being no manners. But it's like any slight deviation away from your will as the parent is something that is frowned upon. When we go to work, this is what you do. And so you go to your boss and say, hey, I have this idea of what would be more efficient. They don't care. That's not what we do. That's not how we speak. That's not how we dress. That's not what we do. It doesn't matter if it's logical. That's why I say we're not operating off of logical.
Right.
It doesn't matter if it's logical. Any deviation that you do, so we don't encourage creativity. We don't encourage individuality. And so because of that, people don't know themselves. And so that's why we can say that this thing doesn't feel good, but I'm not self-aware enough to even identify what doesn't feel good and why. I don't know the name for it, besides anger, because I've learned that. I learned anger and frustration. I can identify those, but I never saw my parents have fun outside alcohol.
Right.
I never saw them have fun. We never see our parents do things for themselves in a healthy way either. And so from
everything needs to have the justification of this is honor or ritual or something like.
Correct.
You're supposed to take care of your kids.
Right. And that's it.
Not that I want I want to have fun with my kids.
Right. And so it's like when people are making decisions, they do it because you're supposed to. We don't ask questions. There's no curiosity on why. This is the way you cook the rice. I don't know why we cook the rice like this. This is just the way that it is. We put the mayonnaise in anyway.
You don't put mayonnaise in rice?
I was going to talk about the conch salad. Anyways, that is just what we did. We don't ask questions, and you're not allowed to challenge whatever the authority is.
Right.
We don't know who created these rules. We don't know why the justification was for it 100 years ago, but we just continue and we're not allowed to challenge. And so because of that, we have lost that whole component of self. We know group. We know how I fit into this group, how I fit into this space, what I contribute to this space, but not how I can add any value and fulfillment to my life, firstly. So here's how we answer that. You have to do a whole bunch of things. Literally. Like all sorts of new things. Do those things and try those things. And it sounds very, very, very simple, but literally driving different ways to work, wearing different colors, trying different patterns of things are small ways that you maintain your sense of self. And as you explore those things, you learn what feels good, what you like, what you don't like. And it's going to contribute to how you show up in your relationships as well, professional, romantic, or platonic. Because the more you know yourself, the more you know what standards to set for what you want and what you need. And you're willing to not be with someone or around someone that cannot provide you with those things. Because it's not going to be what if I don't find a partner? Because you have so much fulfillment in your own life that it's like, yes, you're going to have needs and desires for intimacy, but we have treat relationships like it is the end all be all friendships like it's the end all be all. Someone was like, oh, I can't go to lunch by myself. We go to lunch by ourselves. When you sit at your desk at work, you are having lunch by yourself.
I mean, well, that's depressing. I mean, so for me,
all right, if you home
Yeah.
and if I watch a movie on Netflix and I eating dinner by myself, then I eating dinner by myself. But now when you go out to a restaurant, you scared because you don't want people to see you eating by yourself.
Yes.
You eat by yourself all the time. That's not logical.
Right. No, logical it is not. But
right. So we don't operate off of logical.
Right. And so that's the problem. Because I when I was younger, I still do. But that's because where I don't go to restaurants to eat by myself. Mostly because it's like, I don't really like to be in restaurants, right? Right? Like, I'll go to a restaurant if I'm hanging out with somebody.
Right.
But like, if I'm eating by myself, I might as well go home and be comfortable. But I remember being young and seeing people by themselves in restaurants and being like, a poor person has no friends.
Correct.
Right. That's a thought. And so maybe that moment of existential crisis where it's like, I know what I think of those people. And now, if I'm doing this thing, it makes me confront myself about the same things. Like, well, is this true of me? Who do I have to show up for me or with me in this time? And so, it makes sense in terms of experimenting with new things. Because I was going to say, is then the solution to find ways in which you can be yourself or do things. Because on one hand, there are moments where you shouldn't question authority, right? The building is on fire and the fire marshal says, hey, everybody, come this way in a single file. And you say, the elevator quicker, he ain't know what he talking about. He ain't ever been in this building. Now is not the time, guys.
Correct.
Now is not the time. So there are moments where it's like, it is best to rely on the wisdom of the authority.
Yes.
But then there are other times, and I guess what you're saying is we should find those moments, right? You at a job, your boss has decided that everybody's going to do stuff this way, and it's a waste of breath to even try to convince them otherwise. Hey, I told you, we had this conversation where it's like, 200 years from now, who among us is going to make it into any history book? What are we doing today that 300 years from now, if the Bahamas still exists, and if we've not been swallowed up by another country or covered in water, right? They write the history book and they say, in the year 2026, so-and-so did X, Y, and Z. The things that we do on a daily basis, in the grand scheme of life, mean nothing. 50 years from now, you're not going to remember why you was rushing to work yesterday. You will not. All right? So don't hurt your head over your boss trying to do all that foolishness.
Right.
If he say only photocopy the paper with the top facing north because he have OCD, cool.
I definitely.
You should.
I will not be doing that.
Right? But you then need to find a space where you can question things, where you can do things your way.
Yeah.
And try different things. All right? And so that makes sense.
Right.
That's it. I said all that to say that makes sense. That resonates with me.
You go back to the sense of self. There's this lady on TikTok. She teaches primary school or something like that, and she gives them an outline of a shape, and she tells them to draw whatever it could be. So like if she draw the first part of an ice cream cone, she says it's not an ice cream cone. Draw whatever you think it is. And I think it is so beautiful because adults cannot do it. We will only see the ice cream cone. We would never think about all of the things that the children are able to think of because we have no creativity left. We have no fun left. We have no passion. No, when was the last time you yearned?
Who, me?
Right.
I yearn all the time.
Right.
I do. If anything, I have the opposite issue. I yearn too much.
Too much. That's valid.
I yearn too much. So I just sit in the car.
And so we've lost we've lost the beauty of what childhood was supposed to teach us. And we've deviated from everything that we were supposed to learn. The structure, the balance, the health, the food, the time off the screen, the time to do work, the time for play, the time for sleep.
There was barely any screen. Anyway, that's a whole different.
That's fair. So I'll branch it into time of learning and time for fun.
Right.
All of those things are what you're supposed to structure. The brilliant years of children saying, but why? But why? Is what, like I said, the developmental pathways. And so if those developmental pathways of curiosity and interest and self-expression and self-exploration isn't developed in those primitive years, your brain is going to see that as insignificant. It is going to think that you yourself are nothing but whomever you are around. And so your brain will always mimic the environment and there will be no you. And that is learned. We teach it, unfortunately, even in the classroom. Sit down, do your work. This is break time, whatever. And like, there's no creativity. There's no other. There's no exploration.
You also have to recall that sometimes the things that we do, because they've always been done, was the invention of a psychopath.
Correct.
From Britain.
Correct.
Right? The whole idea. So the prison cell is modeled after the cell from the monks. But the monks were purposely trying to isolate themselves from society in order to search for God, which is not the same thing as rehabilitating a person. Like, these people are hoping that they stay in a dark room long enough that they see the light. And it's only them in the room. It's not 9 dudes in a room with a bucket. You know what I mean? So it's like, things like that. And then you talk about schools. The reason why our schools are the color they are is because that's the color they are. I know this because I asked the former permanent secretary for the Ministry of Works, why are hospitals pink, schools yellow, and police stations green? Now, I had the theory that it was because at some point people didn't necessarily know how to read, and so it helps to have things color coded to say, hey, well, this color green is a police station.
Yes.
This color pink means it's a clinic. This color yellow is a school. So it helps to know which building is the government building. And he's like, it was like that from colonial time. There is no piece of paper in the Ministry of Works that says your building must be this color. We've just been buying that color paint.
Just because.
Because that's the color it was.
So my theory is that there weren't a whole lot of colors.
That's not that. It's not that.
It's that because most people's houses were the same colors. Most people's bathrooms and kitchens were like yellow. Everything was yellow.
Yeah, but see, that's a recent
different
thing.
Shades of yellow.
That's a recent thing in the 70s. Because like I think his name is it might be Dave Smith. All right, is a guy. He's a British guy. He used to live in the Bahamas, and he did a lot of paintings. If you went to COB in the 90s and the early 2000s, before they moved to where the library was, you'd see his paintings on the wall, right? And so like there's this juxtaposition between clapboard houses and a Cadillac for out front. And then it'd be like this breakdown house, but then TV, because he's painting the stuff in the 80s. I want to say 70s, right? But a while back. So a color television, but inside this breakdown environment or whatever, right? And so there's this juxtaposition, and it's like it's cool. The look is very. If you saw it, you're like, oh, okay, and it's a thing. But all the houses are very colorful because the houses used to be colorful. If you want to talk about everybody doing what everybody else does, when we moved away from you only have a wooden house, and so because you have a wooden house, you paint it funky colors so that it doesn't just blend into the background.
I feel like all of the buildings
But
in
now,
the social studies book was yellow and blue and pink. Yellow and green and
that
pink.
wouldn't shock me. But that's once you start getting inside, everybody building house with cement
That's fair.
and stone and stuff. You want to be in a neighborhood where all the houses are white, and you have a blue trim,
Mm-hmm.
you could have a brown trim,
Mm-hmm.
you could have a yellow trim.
Mm-hmm.
But we all trying to get, maybe you have a red trim because you're funky, you're crazy. But we're trying to keep everything orderly, and so you lose that sense of creativity.
Yeah.
So that happens. But neither here nor there. What would you like to leave the people with? What would you want them to, what's the one thing you'd want them to know?
That the healthiest thing that you can do for yourself is to actually know yourself and discover who you are, to ask yourself why to all of the decisions that you make so that you can figure out whose idea this was and then form your own ideas, even if it's stupid. Because my daddy was like, Roddericka, I don't care if you do something stupid, as long as you know why, I won't beat you. So I'll take it.
Must be great.
And so just to know why you like, what you need, and then go towards those things. Because at the end of the day, going towards the thing that you don't like or don't need will also not make you happy. So if you're going to be, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, Laura wasn't happy regardless.
Oh, we don't know. Apparently, the show ended with Steve floating off in space. And you know what? Laura was a two-dimensional character. Now that you say it, who was Laura Winslow? That's what the title of this episode is going to be. Roddericka, thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for joining us. Once again, you have been watching and listening to Sidebar, a 103 The Beat podcast powered by ILTV. I'm Stephen Hanna, True God Still.
So you want a space. But not just any space. You need something with a little more potential. So how about 1,000 square feet of room to play with? Superb audio and video production capability, digital LED wall, full lighting grid, and about 124 seats to accommodate a full studio audience, with so many other features. Make us your home for your next concert, conference, and so much more. Honestly, the possibilities are endless. Here at ILTV Studios, we'd love to bring your next event to life. So what do you say? Do you want our space?